Thank you very much, Matthias, for the invitation. And from Italy, we're moving to Austria. And we also changed the sector. We're talking about life science. We're talking about uh, developing drugs and the new medicines of the next decades to come. And I'll uh, try to put you into this that it's the right time for looking at our stock. First of all, we are listed on the Vienna Stock Exchange in the standard market segment with around a little bit below 70% free float of our shares. Founders and management still hold around 25% of the company, and there's two long-term investors from Saudi Arabia, the Al Sheikh family, which hold a little bit above 4% of each individuals. So why it's a reason to invest in Marinomed? First of all, you invest in an experienced management team. We've seen a lot altogether in the couple of 2 decades the company exists. My wife and co-founder Eva, she used to be the program team head of the allergy program at Novartis, so some big pharma experience here as well. And recently joined Gabi Ram. She's a financial person, worked for listed companies, including Salzgitter in Germany. She worked for Bayer in the past and recently also for Wienerberger in Austria, so she knows the financial environment. We have a clinical proven technology with late assets in partnering. I will show you later on, and with a very lean, efficient business model. We're doing that with just 36 people here, a little bit outside of Vienna to the west, quite close to the city, very good infrastructure around. And we have a financially restructured company that is currently posting huge profits from an asset sale and from the restructuring. We'll see that later on as well. So what are we in? We are solubilizing otherwise insoluble compounds, and the need for that is highlighted here. Is about 90% of all the drugs in development fall in the so-called low solubility categories, and thousands and thousands of compounds have failed in the last 30 years, and there's around a little bit close to 3,000 approved small molecule drugs on the market. What is small molecule drugs? This is a chemical drugs, not biological drugs, like you probably had an antibody or something like that. The small compounds like aspirin or others that you probably know or you have taken in the past, and that's around 3,000 of them around. And yeah, 90% of them, new ones that are developed, have a solubility issue. And to give you an example and show what we can do, we showed probably everybody knows curcumin, and curcumin is a substance, a plant-derived substance, pretty well known, also quite hyped in the past couple of years. And we're very simple. We have a patented recipe. We call it Marinosolve. And with that patented recipe, we can solubilize that insoluble system. And on the right, you see how it looks like. We are the left ones of these vials. You see, we keep it yellow, we keep it stable. And when you see competitors, there's other technologies around, for example, cyclodextrins. If you try to solubilize something with that, you might end up in a stability issue. Some of them are really helpful, some of there's competitors, but what we can show is we keep it stable for a long time, and that's probably pretty much important for developing drugs. There's a few on it. It's just not just one compound that we solubilize. And we showed already in the past that we can practically solubilize a bunch of them. And you see the scale that is shown is the fold increase, how much better we can increase it in comparison to some if you just simply put it in the market. And the better the worse the solubility is in beginning, the better is our technology. For example, on the right side, this blood pressure drug, which we're able to increase the solubility about 650,000 times. It's canasadine. It's a standard blood pressure drug, but there's also antibiotics there. There's immune suppressants. There's all different of compounds are there. So nice that we can do that. How that translate something like that translate into a business model? First of all, there's three lines of incomes from that. We have in-house projects. One of them I will introduce later on, where we have already invested in the past in clinical development, and we could generate from partnering these assets to pharmaceutical companies who take care of marketing. The plan is to generate upfront milestones and royalty payments, and that is the interesting thing also from an investor's perspective, because you get access to global markets as a pretty small company. Then we have client-sponsored Solve for You projects. Solve for You is our brand when we use the technology for compounds that are not developed in-house, but the customers come to us and say, "Can you help us to solubilize our compounds?" And we say, "Yes, we can." First of all, for the work we are doing, we get paid. It's a cost-plus model. And once this project progresses, we generate royalties and milestones. And this is of particular importance because here we don't need to take a risk. The risk is taken by the partner who invests in the development and simply uses our technology in further development and our expertise. And then we call it, this last line of income is, as we call it, Solve for You research services. These are not IP protected. Here we don't get milestones. It's a contract research model with service for fee. We've built some expertise in the past, in particular in ophthalmology and in other development capabilities. Some companies are interested in our expertise, and here we offer this expertise, but for a service for fee model. Here we really make revenues, and only if it makes sense for us from a commercial perspective, we give these companies access to our team that will work for them. Here you see an overview about Solve for You clients around the world. So this business developed in the last couple of years. It's all at the moment 9, and that means 9 clients that have already successfully completed a so-called feasibility study. We were able to solubilize the compounds, and the company has decided, okay, we're gonna continue this project at different speeds. So here's something where we expect revenues in the future, and personally our expectations is that we need around 20 of these projects altogether to have that this business part can sustain the company by itself. So it's a growing business, and recently especially inhalation drugs for inhalation, we got interest from third-party companies who are interested in our technology to develop inhalation products. So this business is growing. It's growing quite nicely, and this gives you a little bit feeling that there is a future also after that. What I'm going to tell you about our pipeline of in-house projects. And of particular interest, also very near term, is Budesolv, treatment of allergic rhinitis. And we think we were really convinced that we can disrupt this market for allergic rhinitis. And there is a particular reason for that. The existing products that are on the market, and you see a picture, some of them there, and probably also have heard them, Nasonex, Rhinocort, Flixonase are typical brands, former big pharma brands that are now owned by their spin-off companies or have been bought. For example, Rhinocort Aqua is a brand that was initially developed by AstraZeneca, then sold to Johnson & Johnson. But all these products, they have an issue. These products contain preservatives. They are suspensions, so they have a slow onset of action. What do I mean with a slow onset of action? When we then tested our solubilized product head-to-head with Rhinocort Aqua, the health authority required that we treat the patient at least 7 days until we do a non-inferiority head-to-head comparison. Just imagine you have an allergy and it takes 7 days until you have a meaningful efficacy. And then, of course, high doses are required, and there is generic competition already. So we think this is the current steroid products represents the Nokia phone of in the year 2000. So there's a need for an iPhone, and it needs to be replaced. And we think we have already found a solution, a clear solution. We can produce these products preservative-free, have a high bioavailability. We can have immediate action after the first treatment. We can reduce the dose down to 10 to 30% of their originator, dependent on the compound, and we have patent protection for that, so that nobody else can simply copy that. And this is and we have clinical data for that. So we don't need to invest in heavy clinical trials anymore. And if you look at that market, what big is the market? The market altogether is around is growing up to $15 billion US dollars. Typically, probably you even know it, antihistamines are used for treatment of allergic rhinitis. You have corticosteroids to treat the inflammation. You have some kind of immune therapy. Immune therapy is then if you're so-called hypersensibilization, that you try to trick the immune systems to get rid of the allergy. It functions very often for a short time, but later on, often patients still need to use the corticosteroid. And we've modeled that. So if we simply would transform around 30% this market, remove the existing corticosteroids, or at least part of that corticosteroids, and transform that market in the next 10 years and taking 30% market share of our technology, then products which apply our technology would end up at around a $5 billion US dollar market. So it's a huge market. And if you simply have a technology royalty on that, or have a royalty on product royalty on that, it's a fascinating market to enter. And because there hasn't been so much innovation in this market in the last couple of years, we believe this market is ready to do so. It's also a special market because it's not everywhere prescription free. So in the US, for example, it's OTC. OTC means you can go to Walmart, Walgreens, Tesco, whatever. Buy these products there. It's not the case, for example, in Canada and most EU countries. And in the rest of the world, it depends. So what we also think that the low dose Marinosolv enabled corticosteroid may support the global switch to OTC of these products, so customers can buy them in the pharmacy directly. That would also mean that you're out of price regulations, and you don't need to negotiate with healthcare financing organizations and have these painstaking processes of negotiating the prices. So what do we need to achieve this kind of market transformation? It requires a combined strategy. First of all, you need a superior product. I described already fast onset of action, clinical proof, sterile, preservative-free, all these type of things, the low dose, but it's definitely not enough. You need a partner to do that. So Marinomed alone cannot do that. The partner, of course, you need a marketing concept. You need a global rollout strategy, very important, a cost-effective production. And that's where our experience comes from. We have worked on the development of nasal sprays for the last 18 years. So we know the costs, we know the manufacturers, we know the pitfalls. And of course, a switch to OTC is also needed. And what the partners also need to do, we need to transport the message of unhealthy preservatives. They destroy the cilia hair in the nose, so it's good to keep these preservatives off. The lower the dose, the better it is for the patients, the less side effects you have. So also that is very important. And last but not least, less steroids means it's better for the environment. It's an ESG issue. The less resources used, the better it is for all of us. So why is this product not already on the market when we already have phase 3 data? So when we did the phase 3 study and developed it further for large-scale production, we had the issue that we had insufficient stability. We had to improve the packaging and change the formulation that had regulatory implication. Just recently, we got the feedback from the Swiss health authorities that these regulatory implications do not require us to complete the entire phase 3, to replicate the entire phase 3 clinical trial, which would have been very expensive. So what has the Swiss medic not opposed? First of all, it has agreed that a so-called pharmacokinetic study, which basically means you spray the product to the patient and simply measure how much you'll find in the bloodstream of the patient. This is a study that can be done very cost-effective and fast. And if the study shows no difference between the clinical medication and the new medication, then it's regarded as a proof of equivalence for the local therapeutic activity. Nobody has questioned nobody has questioned that corticosteroids are effective. So what is currently ongoing? First of all, we are working on the large-scale production with the external CMO. We're working on this PK study, and also we're already working on the preparation and filing and processing for the marketing authorization with an external CMO. And we're also working on a partnership for Switzerland and then for several other countries. We hope to be able to communicate it in very short notice who's going to be the partner. The message here is there is no big deal required besides the establishment of the registration. Of course, that will take time. A registration of a dossier typically takes a year. But the big issue of the clinical trial, the phase 3 clinical trial, that has already happened and has successfully happened. Yeah, and of course, very interesting. A company with such an upside potential. If you look at our share price, it's currently around 12 euros. What has happened in the past? So I don't want to talk too much about the reasons of the restructuring. Basically, very simple. We had a finance instrument from the European Investment Bank that was essentially a venture loan. And the payback requirements of this loan somehow was not compatible with the income stream that we had. We filed for a restructuring proceeding last year. That led to a 70% reduction of our debt, of our unsecured debt, which basically means that we posted a close to 19 million profit in Q1 2025. And we agreed in this restructuring to pay back the liabilities of 8 million in the next 2 years. The 4 million loan for the facility with the nice labs and offices that we have, that simply has been continued. And basically, the company has shed practically 70% of its debt. We only had one big creditor, a difficult creditor, the European Investment Bank. But even they agreed to invest some small money on a bond, which is now a convertible bond, that they have the chance to recover their losses. When you look at our revenues from Q1, there is 6.5 million. This includes 5 million upfront first payment from the sale of our Carragelose asset. I will come to that in a moment as well. The 18.9 million gain from the restructuring. So basically, we have a profit, Q1 profit of 22 million with a market cap of 22 million. So you see this is a huge impact that this has. So you see that also is reflective in the dramatic reduction of the current financial liabilities that have been around 28 million at the end of the year, and due to the end of this restructuring, the current financial liabilities went down dramatically. So how did this all happen, and why did the banks agree on this, or did the bank agree on this restructuring plan? Because we had a business that we divested. We divested our Carragelose business. It's I don't need to explain too much about this business. So we sold it to Uniter Pharmaceuticals. It's the French CDMO organization that is also a market leader in blow, fill, and seal technology, organization that fills pharmaceuticals for others. And we got 5 million payment already in Q1, and there is a 2 earnout and 2 service income streams from the sale of this business. First of all, we can get up to 15 million earnouts, and each could come either from financials. Basically, 10 million could come from, based on financial metrics. It's basically a standardized EBIT figure that is used here, and 10 million could come from so-called operational targets. It's mainly connected to the success of the Carragelose eye drop program, and that runs pretty well. The drops have been launched in Austria in March. The company who launched it up is already stock out, so it seems to be a good success, and also business development is going well. So we have a good chance that we get the earnouts here. So it can 10 million from each side, but there is a limit of 15 altogether. So once 15 have been paid, we don't get more than 15. So our goal is, of course, to get this 15 as fast as possible to finance the company. Then we have a so-called transition service agreement. We have here monthly services. Uniter needs us and our experience for the continuation and further development of the business, and they pay a monthly fee for that. That's already in place and is running. It's going to be running for 4 years. And then they requested new product developments. We think this is project-based, and we simply give additional services to them. So basically, what is the outlook of the company here? So we have for our lead asset, as explained, based on this positive outlook, we have a good view on the commercial partnership for Switzerland and beyond. We're going to use Switzerland as reference country for a series of other countries. And we're going to progress with partners in other key markets, and that could happen pretty fast. I didn't talk too much about Tacrosolv, our second asset, but also here, our plan is to add commercial partnerships, and with Solv4U, we're going to continue and progress the existing partnerships and expand the business for our Solv4U services. And I already saw that there is the one or the other questions.
Yes, there are already 2 questions. I'm not sure if I get the first one correctly, but could the dossier registration be shortened by the fact that the product is already based on a existing registration?
You are correct. So basically, it depends on the region. In Europe, it's a so-called hybrid application based on a guideline of locally acting, locally applied known compounds. That basically means you get all the claims of the product of the originator and the additional claims that you have evaluated in your clinical trial. In our case, it's pretty important because it's also the originator product has a claim for children. In Switzerland, it's a little bit different. In the US as well. In the US, it's a so-called 545(b)(2) registration, also a shortened registration. But in any case, the process itself at the health authorities typically take 280 days plus clock stop. So we calculate a year for such a registration. Then there's another question is what are the potential licensing? What is the license fee? There's no clear percentage that we can give at the moment. But basically what we can communicate, it's typically single digit, and it little bit depends also on the market. In a high price market like Switzerland and let's say US, you're more close to the double digit or even double digit, and in low price countries, let's say for example, because we had a partnership with our previous product there, for example, in the Philippines, it's going to be very difficult to see the royalties in that amount. So it depends on the region, but in key markets, it should be a high single digit or even double digit royalties.
Okay. And could you maybe share some more details on the status and the projected timeline of Solve4U partnerships?
So Solve4U partnership typically depends on which compound it is. It's a complete new compound. It can take 5 years plus until you see an income. If it's a repositioning or a patent life cycle management a project where you simply try to prolong the IP protection for a partner. It could lead to revenues, to significant revenues for Marinomed from the start to the registration in 2.5 to 3.5 years.
Okay. So we have about a minute left. So maybe you can wrap up the investment case one more time. Why should we all invest in Marinomed?
I think it's a good time to do so. You don't have a big risk that Marinomed fails in clinical trials. There's no need for them, at least not at the moment. And there's a huge upside investing in a company with 22 million market cap that currently boasts a profit of 22 million. And we are planning, our current plan does not foresee any losses anymore in the planning period, which is 5 years. So we plan to be profitable, and from the more Budesolv develops in the next couple of weeks and months, and the more income we have here, the higher is the upside for any equity investor.
Excellent closing words. Andreas, thank you so much.
Matthias and Gibitzi, thank you so much for making this possible. Thank you.